I'm Rachel Dworkin from the Chemung County Historical Society. Today is July 1st, 2020, and I'm here talking to
Filomena Jack. I'm a painter. I live in Elmira, New York, and I'm also a creative teacher and a personal development coach.
Okay, that's a lot of hats.
Yeah.
What is your normal business model when we're not in a pandemic?
When we're not in a pandemic, I do classes to rooms full of people at libraries or at my studio or at people's houses. Coaching, I meet with people and we sit intimately and we talk about plans for their future. I look them in the eyeballs and I feel their energy.
So it involves a lot of face-to-face.
Yes.
And presumably you also paint and sell, or paint or draw. What kind of art do you do?
I do mostly 2D design, so painted surfaces or mixed media surfaces. I've also, in my past, have done a lot of sewing professionally.
So do you do that on commission, or do you do that do you go to art shows, or how do you?
So I do lots of work on commission. I do people's pets specifically. That's a big commission for me. Mm-hmm. And then I do art shows at galleries. I have private shows or solo shows, and I do group shows.
Okay, so considering that is your business model, how
Yes.
has the pandemic and the shutdown affected you?
It has affected me quite severely in the old model. So places where I sell my art have been closed. Art shows are not happening. Classes that I've had scheduled for over a year have had to pivot. So we're not meeting for these classes. No one has hired me to do any parties or, I do showers and birthday parties and things for people, creative activities, and I haven't had any of that since March.
I know that you used to do classes at the library a lot, and that they've pivoted to digital. Have you been doing any digital art classes?
I have, yeah. So we've taken some of the projects that we originally planned and put them online to Zoom. Typically, I would have 20 to 30 people in a class plus a waiting list of students for our in-person classes. And now, last night I had a class and there were 4 people, which I am so honored that those 4 people were able to join us, but it's just not reasonable that everyone has the technology or the skill to get online to be able to participate in a class. Going forward, we're going to be creating kits so people can watch a video and have this kit that I give them with the art supplies. So typically we use paints and inks so we can collage. It's just not so bad for the environment to have these little plastic cups of paint all over, and I'm not sure how people will discard them. But tissue paper and construction paper, I feel better giving those to the public, and I just feel like it's an easier way for me to talk about color and have them use paper.
Okay, so have you been doing any commission artwork?
Yeah, so there's one way that actually some new prospects have come up. So last year I started working with Community Arts of Elmira in their Infinite Canvas project. Elmira Infinite Canvas is the hashtag we're using.
That's the mural project, correct?
Right, exactly. So it's murals, it's painted structures throughout the city. And because they haven't had to focus on other things so much. They're really focusing on this. So to date this year, tomorrow I'll have completed my second large mural for this year, and we're hoping to get another mural in, and that is commissioned, and they are paying the artists who are working on that.
So could you tell me a little bit about the 2 murals that you've already done, where they are, what they're of?
So the first one that I completed is near 714 Lake Street in Elmira, and I called it Dragonfly Love. It's an interactive mural where a person could stand in front of the mural and at the dragonfly's body, and it looks like the person has the wings. And above, at the head of the dragonfly, is a heart. So even if you are quite tall, you could still see that this heart is above you. And my idea is that I want everyone to feel covered with love. I get emotional thinking about it because I really want it to be a gift for the community and for people who are never been in the neighborhood to pass by and see that there's, you know, some parts of our community that we're really working to make it thrive. So that one is complete. The second one is at the corner of Judson and Sullivan, right under the Lackawanna Trail. Mm-hmm. And that one is called Frog Hollow Loves You. It's in the neighborhood that was once known as Frog Hollow.
Okay.
In the 1800s, early 1900s, it was known as Frog Hollow for sort of a swampy nature that was in the community, you know, the actual land. So I've painted a huge frog, a huge welcoming, smiling frog, and he's holding balloons, and it's also interactive. There are balloons with painted string, so a passerby can come and take a picture, and it looks like they're holding one of the balloons. Okay. And again, the balloons are in a heart shape with the idea that I'm trying to represent the love that I'm feeling for the community.
Okay. And do you have a plan for the third potential one that you're thinking of doing?
The third one, yes, excuse me, is we're trying to find a location for it, but so my favorite flower in the garden is called a cosmo, and I plan to paint 3 cosmos, at least 3 stories high, in a neighborhood with a background that looks like it's been watercolored. Mm-hmm. So it's really different from the other murals that we have around town. This will be very painterly and fluid, and I am really excited. I can't wait. It'll take some heavy equipment. Yeah, I've used a boom lift for these other murals because they're quite tall, but with this third one being at least 3 stories tall, I'm really excited to present that to the community.
Okay, that'll be neat. And you don't have a planned location for that yet? You're still...
Not yet, no.
Okay. So other than these commissions, have you had any other commissions other than the mural projects, or has that had been most of your focus for the
that's been my focus. The few classes that are going on with the Steele Memorial Library have those are also commissioned in that I get paid for them, but that's really been it as far as art has been going on. I've taken this time, so it had been I have an illustrated friend that travels with me when I'm able to travel, named Bunsy. He's a rabbit, based on a rabbit that used to be a pet of mine. So it had been my plan for a very long time to create a coloring book that also had drawing tutorials in it, and also talked a little bit about mental health. So in this period of pause, I have produced this book via the KDP area of Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing. So that's out in the world. And so that's been great. You know, I get my royalties for that, and it'll just pick up the more and more that I promote that, and the more reviews I get, it's sort of this, self-feeding thing. The more reviews you get, the more orders you get, which lead to more reviews.
Okay. So, and you don't have to give me exact figures, but how big of a financial hit do you think you are taking, like percentage-wise, versus how much you would normally make in a year?
Probably, I'd say I've cut out 75%.
Wow. Have you, because you're self-employed, you're presumably not eligible for the payment protection loans that the government was putting out. How are you dealing with that?
Well, my husband and I, we have just made some changes. We have just, entertainment and travel is not part of our plan for right now. We closed on this house February 28th.
Ooh.
So we had taken our, we saved for quite a long time, for years and years, to buy this house. And so we may have made a different decision, but this is where we're at. So we're just making choices, how we budget our food allowance. We both love to cook, so that's helpful. But it has changed the things that I buy in the supermarket. He has been on furlough all this time.
And what does he do?
He produces conventions. So like Comic-Con, the car show.
Oh.
And most of the year he works from home, and then we would travel to Manhattan for when he needed to be on site. And just recently, a major portion of his company was completely laid off because there can't be conventions. So we are keeping ourselves healthy and as positive minded as we can, but it is a lot of heavy lifting.
It certainly sounds like it. What have you guys been doing to sort of, stay sane without, other than, art and work? What have you guys been doing?
Because I am a life coach and a personal development coach, I have a great tool set as far as how to realistically look at any situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been revisiting some of my favorite books, like The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. So that has really helped me to remain balanced. We've developed something we call M&M Club, which is meditate and move. So today we are on day 106 of contiguous meditation and movement. So we started off with high intensity workouts, and for the last maybe 90 days or so, we've done yoga every single day. And that isn't something we typically would do, but having those tools of the meditation, and it's not always easy, and the movement, we know that we're keeping our bodies as healthy as possible, just sets us up for having a better mindset.
Okay. Is there anything you would like to add about your COVID experience?
I would like to say, and I do absolutely recognize how incredibly lucky and blessed I am. I have a community that has been supportive of me, and I don't have to take care of small children or elderly parents. So I recognize that this statement may not be everyone's experience. But I have to say, I almost feel glad for some of what's come with COVID. So I have been able to focus more. I have been able to prioritize a lot more. Financially, my time spent I don't feel badly about everything that's come from this experience.
Okay. Have you been involved in any of the other things that are going on around town, like the protests or anything like that?
No, I haven't. I sort of, even without COVID, I love the, so I'm sorry, her name is escaping me. Dorothy Day. She was a really strong woman who had this idea. She was a peace-loving woman. And during the unrest during the Vietnam War, she had this idea that she would never go to an anti-war rally, but she would go to every peace rally.
Okay.
So I hold that true for myself as well, even before COVID. So for instance, I am I'm a vegan, an ethical vegan. And I don't ever go to any protests against other businesses or organizations. I would never go to a protest, but I would commit myself to every peaceful pro-animal thing. So the protests that have been going on in our community, I am so glad that I live in a country where people can do that, but it just doesn't feel right for me.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to talk about related to anything?
So I alluded that I used to sew a lot professionally, and in the first few weeks of this, when masks became a thing, a few people asked if I would make the masks, and I kind of, hedged it off. I wasn't feeling comfortable about it because I honestly thought, we're just going to have a couple weeks of this. And eventually I had enough people ask me to make them masks that it really woke me up. And I recognized that this was more serious than I understood. So then I had the quandary of, making masks and then people wanting to pay me for them. And then I felt uncomfortable about that because I didn't want to ever take advantage of this negative place that we're in. But I eventually did take payment for masks. And I've come to recognize that it's okay. I'm making a really beautiful product. I am listening to exactly what my customers are asking for, and they're priced very inexpensively.
So is that a word of mouth service, or are you advertising that somewhere?
So I've really done it just word of mouth, though I've started to put photos on my social media. So I put these photos up right before I'm about to send them out to my customers. And because I do feel proud of my work womanship, and I'd like us to say work womanship. And then people have been asking, they see the photo and they ask, but I don't say, hey, this is how much they are, I can ship, I'm still letting it come to me if it comes to me, but I don't feel that I want to make it commercialized. Like my paintings, I'm happy to put a price tag on a painting and put it up on my social media. The masks feel different to me, and it's been an interesting thing. It's really, I've had to do some soul searching about it.
Okay. So did you eventually settle on charging because, it costs money to make one of these, or?
That, the number of people who have asked, that sort of made me think about it more. And it's also, there's this book called The Power of Asking by Amanda Palmer. And she talks a lot about, she has this theory about take the daisy. So she was a living statue. She was a busker who would stand as a living statue, and what she would do is give out flowers to passersby. And she did this for years and years and years. And she learned that, people some people would take the daisy and some people wouldn't. And she thought it was just better for humanity if we all, every once in a while, took the daisy, like allowed the blessing to come. So in that respect, I have openly taken payment for the masks. And I add a little bit extra than what the customers are asking for. In different ways, and like something that I'll put in the package, a little note, or sometimes I'll add extra masks. So I've decided to take the daisy.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to talk about?
Just hope people can feel some relief in their anxiety. So in some positive way. I wish that they found books that were lighter to read, maybe, or if they're spiritual people, that they find some extra connection with whatever that spirituality is. I really am hoping to lessen people's anxiety, because we make better, healthier choices when we feel less anxious. It's easy to say, not easy always to practice.
Have you been meeting with your life coach clients through this?
Via Zoom, I have, yes.
Okay. How are they doing? I mean, I don't want names and details, but.
Right, of course. Yeah, I would never do that. The exercises are even more important now than they were. The exercise, I prescribe to all of my clients a writing exercise. I have suggestive reading and video watching. I have the suggestive habit of getting off of negative social media. Mm-hmm. And that is more important now than it ever has been.
Okay. If you don't have anything else to add, I'm going to stop the recording and then just, okay. So thank you very much.
Thank you.